냐제 점보도 님미죠. 돈은 뭐는 점보 냐게다 나그라다 감산도 셔마도 tum바도 제잔라 기숑서 네셔로 저니 장감서 저버도 기숑로 열라는 지금 반조자라 소라 공주 도반보르 신지로 공주 도반보르 신지로 공주 도반보르 신지로
Profound and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta before teaching. Today we will continue discussing the Shurangama Sutra. Right now, we are talking about the 7 places of searching for the mind in the Shurangama Sutra. The Shurangama Sutra is considered a very renowned text. It presents various methods for diligently searching for the mind. Many great masters also consistently place special emphasis on the crucial key points in this particular section. Of course, in some commentaries it is further elaborated. The explanations are relatively simple. Perhaps they also couldn't elaborate much further. Just explaining the literal meaning is already sufficient. As we discussed earlier, the first method of searching for the mind is that the mind is not inside. Then the second method is that the mind is not outside. If you can't find the mind inside the entire body, and you also can't find the mind outside, then you still need to continue diligently searching further, exploring all avenues and depths of understanding. Of course, when we meticulously study this profound Shurangama Sutra, perhaps in terms of the intricate Chinese expressions and the precise wording, the formulation is quite perfect and exquisitely crafted. But sometimes the punctuation marks, as well as the arrangement of paragraphs and sections, there may be different ways of interpreting some of the commentaries as well. I genuinely do not possess an abundance of available time to thoroughly consult with others and meticulously study all the relevant materials, but I can also confidently and quite responsibly state that I have diligently and carefully prepared for each and every class I have undertaken. And I make sure to explain the fundamental principles that should be thoroughly covered to everyone, making everything abundantly clear. In particular, when I carefully look at the Tibetan version is especially simple and easy to understand. The content is also very profound, and the language is especially beautiful. It even seems more beautiful than the original Chinese version, and truly easier to understand than the Chinese version. This might also be the case, one of the unique features of the translation of the Shurangama Sutra. I carefully read through the preface to the Shurangama Sutra from the Qianlong era, primarily because at that particular time the Shurangama Sutra was indeed available and existed in 4 distinct languages. We also mentioned this earlier. One is Chinese language and another is Tibetan language. Chinese, Tibetan, as well as Manchu and Mongolian. At that particular time, the great Emperor Qianlong, who was then reigning, wrote a comprehensive and detailed preface in front of the revised editions in these 4 distinct and different languages. He composed preface. This preface mainly contains several distinct layers of important content. The first point mentioned is that actually in the Chinese Tripitaka, the Shurangama Sutra was translated into Tibetan. As for the translation into Tibetan, it should have been more than 500 years ago by Master Bhutan, when he saw the original Sanskrit version of the text. In the ancient Sanskrit scriptures originating from India, it was clearly prophesied that in the future this profound text would be translated from Chinese into Tibetan, specifically into the Tibetan language. This translation should have been carried out by the team of National Preceptor Zhang Jia, and it was likely translated by National Preceptor Zhang Jia himself at that time. Therefore, Emperor Qianlong at that time also attached great importance to this matter. Then, in the second aspect, he mentioned the translation of the Shurangama Sutra, because at that time it was translated into Mongolian, as well as Tibetan and Manchu. So in this particular case, the esteemed National Preceptor Zhang Jia's profound intention should have been to meticulously translate the sacred texts, preferably by directly and faithfully rendering the Buddha's original words and profound teachings without engaging in extensive or prolonged theological debate. And without much logical analysis, none of that is necessary. It should be done quite straightforwardly, much like the well-known saying, "To the hungry, give food, to the thirsty, give drink." He explicitly said, if someone truly needs food, if a person is indeed hungry, just give them food directly and without hesitation. If someone is thirsty, just give them a refreshing drink directly without any hesitation. In this way, the problem can be solved. So what he truly meant was to utilize a simple and easily understandable approach, thereby making it clear, to translate it into different languages. In this way, it would be extremely meaningful for all sentient beings and truly for all readers. Later on, it also talks about the propagation of the Shurangama Sutra and how to make it truly profoundly meaningful, these various kinds of important aspects. So I think most certainly indeed Emperor Qianlong was also quite remarkable. Historically, he ascended to the royal throne at the age of 25, and between that significant point in time and his advanced age of 85 years old, he should have rightfully ruled for an impressive period of 60 years. During this historical period, he consistently and strongly supported, actively promoted, and diligently worked towards the protection and widespread propagation of the sacred and profound teachings of the Tathagata. Due to his unwavering and dedicated support, the influence of Buddhism experienced an exceptionally prosperous and flourishing era at that particular time. He also mentioned that in the past it should have been his esteemed imperial grandfather, Kangxi, whose approach was indeed that the Heart Sutra, that is the Prajnaparamita Heart Sutra, was also widely propagated and extensively disseminated in 4 distinct languages. He also strongly emphasized the significant propagation of what? The propagation of the Shurangama Sutra, a truly important scripture. In fact, why is it that in the Han region, the Shurangama Sutra, the Heart Sutra, including our very own Diamond Sutra, why are these so widely propagated and known, and why are there so many people who achieve realization through them? Actually, this is very much related to the different emperors of various dynasties at the time, and there are significant differences as well, including during the Qing dynasty, whether it was the esteemed emperors Yongzheng, Shunji, or Kangxi, and many others from that imperial lineage. They not only actively promoted the profound teachings of Buddhism, and also practiced themselves. They practiced the authentic Mahayana teachings, the Mahayana Buddhism. So, looking at historical records, it should be clearly stated that Buddhism, once it is highly valued and significantly supported by the reigning emperor, and if the emperor himself also to some considerable extent engages in personal spiritual practice, then the entire nation and all its people will also benefit immensely and profoundly. This widespread positive impact is also an absolutely inevitable and fundamental law of nature and societal progression. So, in this manner, it is clear that, as we mentioned earlier, we discussed some of the profound importance of the Shurangama Sutra. So today we will continue our in-depth discussion on this significant topic. Let's talk about the 7 places of searching for the mind. Regarding the 7 places of searching for the mind, previously, both within the inner confines and the external surroundings, the mind was not found to exist. The third point to consider is, does it truly exist in the middle ground, somewhere between the inside and the outside? Next, Ananda then respectfully addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, as the Buddha has said, because it is not seen inside, since it does not reside within the body, and because body and mind are mutually aware and inseparable, therefore it is not outside the body either. Now, as I contemplate, I know it must be in one place." Because Ananda was the Buddha's attendant, for this reason, actually, in front of the Buddha, he was especially skilled at asking particularly profound questions. He would ask step by step. Of course, some commentaries say that at the very beginning, Ananda asked with great confidence. But later on, it seemed that Ananda also became somewhat, perhaps a little bit uncertain. Whether it was his tone, or in many other aspects, he was not as good as before. By the end, he was also a bit, because the Buddha consistently kept refuting him, and absolutely none of his viewpoints could be firmly established. So, as things gradually went on and time progressed, Venerable Ananda also became a bit tired, or perhaps lost his energy. This could also be seen in his tone in many instances. Many great masters of ancient times have analyzed it this way as well. But I think as for Ananda, he probably wasn't that fragile. If the Buddha answered him one by one, perhaps he was actually very joyful inside. He probably wouldn't be so, just like ordinary people in the world might very well be if the important questions they ask aren't answered well enough, or if the Buddha's words were perceived as even a little bit disrespectful towards them, they would immediately and dramatically collapse to the ground and be completely unable to get up. But I think Ananda was probably not like that at all. Although looking at it historically at that time, he had not yet attained the full fruit of arhatship, and perhaps had not even truly realized the very first fruit. Of course, we will analyze this further later on. So, as has been previously mentioned earlier, neither inside nor outside, the mind is simply not present. It's not inside, nor is it outside. In this case, Ananda said, according to what the Buddha himself said, I now fully understand, because we do not see it inside. If it were inside, if this clear and aware mind were inside, then we should be able to clearly see all the internal organs. But since we do not see them, we know that the human mind does not truly reside inside the physical body. It should not reside within the confines of the body. If it did reside there, since it is aware and clear, we would definitely be able to see it. But because we do not see it, it is certain that it is not inside the body. This particular point has already been clearly and thoroughly proven earlier. Next, regarding the profound and intricate mutual awareness of the physical body and the conscious mind, as for both the body and the mind, actually it should be explicitly said that both the body and the mind are originally and fundamentally. This conscious mind is acutely aware of the state of the physical body, and the physical body is also intimately related to the workings of the mind. This is how it is by nature. But if the mind were outside, then the body and mind would have nothing to do with each other at all. It would be like two arhat monks, unrelated to each other. One of them eats his fill, and it has nothing to do with the other, just like that. If they are not in the same continuum, because they are not connected to each other, since these components are not physically connected to each other in any way, if the main body of the object were located outside of its current position, they would have already become completely separated from each other. But because the body and mind are also mutually aware and are truly inseparable for this profound reason, then by this very same reasoning, the mind is certainly not outside the physical body. This crucial point was already clearly explained by the Buddha much earlier. Ananda was quite exceptionally clever and immediately understood this teaching. Oh, I see. So this mind is indeed not inside, because if it were inside, there would be many faults. Nor is it outside, because if it were outside, there would also be many faults. So I already understand these 2 points, but now I still want to keep thinking about it. Because Ananda was especially well-read and knowledgeable, unlike us, like some elementary or middle school students, who, no matter how the teacher explains, don't really have much of their own independent thinking or ability to elaborate. They lack this kind of ability. Whatever is taught is just memorized as it is. And then, once they are a little bit further removed and fully separated from the way in which the lesson was just explained and presented to them, they can't answer anymore. This is something that probably applies to many of us as well. When we truly listen and deeply contemplate, we should allow our thinking and our ideas to fully expand. We absolutely shouldn't just get stuck in a restrictive rut or simply just repeat whatever is said above. Of course, on one hand, we should repeat the teachings and instructions passed down by our teachers accurately. This is also very important. However, on the other hand, during debates, reflections, and analyses, it is equally crucial to contemplate and scrutinize from a multitude of perspectives. This comprehensive approach is what truly allows for the emergence of a wealth of new ideas and profound insights. Then, in this particular case, Ananda truly did not agree with this specific point or perspective at all, neither inside nor outside. Oh, the lasso, then everything is just lasso. Some people seem to be, whatever you say, it's simply lasso all the time. Whatever you say, just lasso, then maybe the Buddha didn't have a chance to speak anymore. It's okay that you just say okay, then class is over. Ananda did not say lasso. He didn't say that. He said, I still can't figure it out. He said, if I continue to think, I think that my heart is located somewhere else, although not inside nor outside, if it is inside or outside. There is a big fault, but there is another distinct place. Then the Buddha said, where exactly is this particular place now? So where is this other significant place? Where precisely did you manage to find it, and what is its nature? Then Ananda proceeded to respond. Ananda said, this is indeed truly the very mind of knowing. It neither knows the inside, yet can see the outside. And as I deeply think about it, it truly seems to be hidden within the very roots. He said, I certainly know this mind of knowing. Yesterday we called it the clear mind. Today, here, it is called the knowing mind. Actually, it means the same, a mind that is clearly aware. Or here it is the knowing one. In Tibetan, it is always the clear mind. Clearly and distinctly aware. Clearly it is one's own clarity. Distinctly, it is distinctly evident. It is clear about everything outside. Or if we talk about this knowing mind, this mind truly knows everything. It fully knows itself. However, this mind neither truly knows the internal aspects, as we previously discussed, whether it's the internal organs or viscera. None of these can be seen, so it does not know the internal. But this mind indeed can see the external. We also talked about this yesterday. When seeing the Buddha's gentle hands, when his eyes saw them, his mind also started to make distinctions. The Tathagata is so dignified, the Tathagata is so wonderful. He immediately generated discriminating thoughts. In this way, it is indeed very difficult to know the internal. It is truly impossible to know what is inside the body. But as for the external, it should be knowable. So he said, according to my way of thinking, it should be this very mind. It is hidden, lurking deep within the sense faculties and their perceptions. In Tibetan, the word root is translated as realm. The 18 realms, the realm as in the 3 realms, within the realm, within the root. But saying it's within the root like this is also acceptable. He believed that the mind is neither outside nor inside, but it should be in the middle, within the root. As for being within the root, he gave an analogy. It is like some people who take a beautiful crystal bowl and then carefully place the crystal bowl over both of their eyes. It completely covers both of our eyes, obscuring our vision. Although there is something, an object, that has already come together with it, it has already covered and blocked them, but it does not create any obstruction. Moreover, with this root, one can still see. If one can see with it, then the human mind can also make very subtle distinctions. So this is indeed his profound point of view. He thinks the mind should be hidden within the root. So regarding this root, he gave an analogy at that time. Here, the crystal bowl. As for the bowl, in some of our commentaries, they actually refer to this crystal bowl in this way. Some say it's a kind of crystal cup. But in fact, the wand here means that in ancient times it was a kind of eyeglasses made of crystal. The kind of glasses we wear, the crystal was like a tea-colored tint, similar to the color-changing glasses we have now. Once you put them on, they might potentially block your vision a little bit and turn everything into a blue or a green light, something of that nature. But actually, in ancient times, the wand mentioned here wasn't necessarily the kind of bowl we use for drinking tea or eating meals. It should have been a kind of, Master Uyi directly translated it as lens. So it's basically this particular kind of crystal, and at that specific point in time, Liuli most probably referred to crystal, because glass and other such materials might not have been discovered or widely known yet. But actually at that time, it was a kind of crystal that was transparent inside and out, which should be what we now call eyeglasses. The eyeglasses that we wear might have a slight, almost imperceptible tint with a bit of a green or blue color, something like that. So the fundamental idea is if someone is wearing these specialized color-changing or subtly tinted glasses, or more precisely tinted glasses in a broader sense, right? For example, when you are wearing a particular pair of blue-tinted glasses like these, then these substantial and rather opaque glasses definitely completely cover up your original eyeballs, so there is undeniably something quite significant and visually impenetrable already covering them. But even though your natural eyes are entirely obscured and hidden from view, your eyes can still directly see the outside world, the mountains, rivers, earth, and all things, without any obstacles at all. and it doesn't affect your vision at all. You can still clearly see everything around you, all the various forms and phenomena outside. And at the same time, in your mind, you can also recognize this is white, this is green, this is red, this is a person, this is an animal, this is a mountain, and so on. All of these captivating and immersive scenes, when your eyes perceive and fully receive them, your mind can also spontaneously generate different and unique interpretations, various kinds of discriminating thoughts to recognize them. In this way, your eyes have seen, and your mind has already clearly distinguished them and categorized them. However, the mind that perceives and knows does not see what is inside because it is located at the sense organ. So what is it that I have discovered? As for this knowing mind, it does not actually see the inside precisely because it is located at the sense organ, not truly inside the body itself. It cannot see the inside. What is the reason for this? Because it is within the eye faculty. He believes it is within the eye faculty. Then it clearly focuses outward, and then it distinctly, very clearly can see the external environment with complete clarity. There are no obstacles. The reason for this is also precisely because it is deeply rooted within the academic faculty. That's exactly what he truly thinks and believes. Actually, this kind of statement is quite similar to the philosophical view of the realist school. He explicitly says that all the scenes outside, he can clearly see them. And during the entire process of seeing, he is observing. It's like a person wearing glasses can see the outside world clearly. For some of us, if we don't wear our glasses, we simply cannot see anything at all. It's very much like when you take off your glasses, everything becomes a blur. For those who have worn glasses for a long time, as soon as they take them off, it's as if they've become a different person. They keep blinking their eyes, maybe because their prescription is quite strong, or for some other reason. Nowadays, some people, even cats, dogs, and the like, are made to wear glasses. A lot of people in the hand region, because when they get checked at the hospital, it turns out their pets' eyes are a bit nearsighted too. So some people really like to put glasses on their cats and then wear glasses themselves and have their children wear glasses too. I once saw this somewhere where even animals were actually made to wear glasses. There are indeed cases like that, surprisingly enough. So when they take them off, sometimes they can't see anything. It's like that. So their delicate eyeballs are positioned safely behind the protective glass lenses. What this fundamentally means here is our mind is also at the very root. As for the root itself, according to the Vaibhashika school's view, the Vaibhashika school indeed believes that actually our sense bases, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, each one truly has, as explained in the Abhidharmakosha, each one indeed has a different form, a different kind of material form. And that's what they believe. And then, for example, in the Yogacara school, as you go further up, they truly believe that what is commonly considered to be the very root is actually a kind of ability or power to perceive external objects, and not a material form that is at all obstructive. Of course, each and every school truly has a very different explanation indeed. The higher one ascends, the more profoundly they come to believe that this so-called root is merely a form of inherent power, an abstract force or influence. However, this particular power does not inherently possess a tangible form, nor does it necessarily consist of a real, discernible atomic substance or any concrete physical manifestation. It seems that in the commentary on the adornment of the middle way, there are also some very insightful analyses providing a further understanding. In this way, it is believed that our mind should now be hidden. Of course, this mind, which is originally the eye and eye consciousness, the eye root is the fundamental root, the very foundation from which perception arises. And consciousness, that is, eye consciousness, arises based on the eye root. Then what is apprehended by the eye consciousness, such as the colors white and red, when it is finally distinguished by the mental consciousness, only then do we form the notions, this is beautiful, this is ugly. Such discriminating thoughts arise, this is how it is originally. But here there is no distinction made between root and consciousness. There isn't really much distinction, right? What this means is the so-called mind should be in the middle of the root, inside the root. It's like when we wear glasses, our eyes are positioned inside and the glass lenses are located on the outside. They truly believe it is precisely like this.
So in this case, the Buddha began to speak. Next, he thoroughly refuted this particular viewpoint. So how exactly did he accomplish this? The Buddha then said to Ananda, just as you have indeed said, If the root is hidden inside, it would be like crystal. Then the Buddha thoughtfully repeated it for him once again. In fact, there are numerous such repetitions found throughout the ancient Buddhist scriptures. For example, when someone respectfully asks the Buddha a profound question, the Buddha would say, "Is this what you just said?" Actually, even now, when people in the West ask questions, it's the same way. "You just asked like this, is that correct? Is that right? If that is indeed so, then I will answer you, just like this." So in our Buddhist scriptures, including many questions in the Samyukta Agama, sometimes they are especially long. For example, Ananda might ask a whole bunch of questions, very long ones, and when the Buddha answers him, he carefully repeats everything from before. "Is this precisely what you asked? Is that entirely correct?" "Yes," and then Ananda thoughtfully says. Then the actual answer truly commences. So this is a style of language used in Buddhist scriptures. He said, just as you said, when the consciousness is hidden within the sense space, it is like crystal. The consciousness is already latent within the sense space. This is like wearing crystal glasses which block our eye faculty in the same way. That person uses crystal to cover his eyes. This person uses these crystal glasses which have already completely covered his eye faculty. But he can still clearly see the towering mountains and also perceive the shimmering water. However, the crucial question remains, can he truly discern and see the intricate details of the crystal itself? The meaning is quite simple, right? When he is wearing these crystal glasses, it's correct that he can see mountains and water, as we just discussed. But this person, because the crystal is already completely blocking his eyes, can his eyes truly perceive the glasses themselves? That is to say, these crystal glasses, can he actually see them or not? The Buddha, with profound wisdom, then asked him this very insightful question. Then at this very moment, Ananda respectfully replied, saying, "World-honored one, when people's eyes are covered by crystal, they can indeed see it." At that time, Ananda answered, "Yes, world-honored one. When a person is wearing these crystal glasses, if the glasses are covering his eyes, in fact, there is no obstacle to seeing the crystal itself. He can see it completely. Because the crystal should be transparent both inside and out. If it were not transparent inside and out, then seeing mountains, water, and rivers, that would be impossible. Since he can see these things outside, then, as for his inner state, the crystal glass is in between. He must certainly be able to see them." This was Ananda's first answer. At this point, the Buddha began to refute his view. The Buddha, with profound wisdom, then said to his devoted disciple, "Ananda, if your mind were united with the crystal, then when you see mountains and water, why do you not see your own eyes? If your mind is together with this crystal, your mind, in fact, and this crystal, it's just like being completely covered together with your own eyes. In that particular case, when you clearly see the majestic mountains and flowing rivers, why don't you also perceive your very own eyes?" Just now, that mind was actually within the faculty of the eye. If it is within the faculty of the eye, as you just said earlier, when the eyes are placed inside the crystal, the eyes can clearly see the majestic mountains outside, and also see the rivers outside, and also see your own crystal glasses. Then, by the same logic, this is exactly the same. So it's exactly the same as the crystal. How is it the same? If the mind is within the faculty of the eye, it's just like seeing the crystal just now. Then this mind and the faculty of the eye should be visible. Why can't it be seen? That's the question being asked. Then, if he uses the same reasoning to refute it below, if it can be seen, what kind of fault does that entail? If it cannot be clearly seen, what kind of significant fault does that truly entail? If we say the seer of the eye, if we say our mind can truly see the eyes, then the eyes would become the object of perception. The eyes would no longer be the sense faculty. They would have already become the object, because originally we have 5 faculties and 5 objects. If we talk about the 5 faculties and 5 objects, then the faculty of the eye is the seer, and the external form is the object that is seen. But if this very mind, this consciousness, can truly see the eyes, then those eyes have already become like an observed object. They are no longer the faculty of seeing itself, but have indeed already become the object of perception. So this cannot be established accordingly. In this particular way, there is absolutely no possible way for any discriminative thought to effectively follow it either, because it has already become the primary object of our attention and focus. It is no longer the eye itself. It has already become the object of form. If it is the object of form, then the mind cannot The human mind often follows the eye. After it visually perceives something, you generate the thought, oh, this is white, this is red. But if it only becomes the object, then it has nothing to do with your own faculty of the eye. There is nothing seen, and if nothing is seen, then how could discriminative thought arise toward it? It's impossible. This is the very first aspect of the refutation. If it truly cannot see, if it genuinely cannot see, then how can you possibly say, if you say that the eye cannot see, but that the crystal can see, if the faculty of the eye cannot see, then how can you say that? This knowing mind is latent within the sense faculty. In that case, all that you know, this clear and aware mind is latent within the sense faculty, just like being covered by crystal. How can you possibly say such a thing if the human mind that can clearly and precisely know is within the faculty of the eye? Then it should be clearly able to be seen. Why would one choose to use a crystal as a powerful and evocative metaphor? To say that our mind is within the faculty and that it is already able to see, because it cannot see the eye. And if it cannot see the eye, then if it is within the faculty, that would be very difficult. It also cannot be seen inside. If the external faculty also cannot be seen, then there is no way to explain this. So you should understand, when you say the mind that is aware and knows, this mind of ours that is aware and knows is latent within the eye, as if covered by glass. Such a statement does not hold true. This claim is not valid. Here, the main point of refutation is that there cannot be a knowing mind within the faculty. If there were, it would either clearly see or simply not see at all. If it sees, then it consequently becomes the object that is seen and is no longer the faculty itself. If it does not see, then this mind is not one that is clearly aware, because it would be like two stones placed together. They cannot see each other at all. If your mind is inside the eye, and inside the eye even the faculty itself cannot be seen, then it would be even more impossible to perceive forms through it. If, apart from this faculty, it is hanging outside the eye, then, as we previously mentioned earlier, the fundamental fault of the mind being positioned externally still persistently exists, creating a significant and ongoing issue. If we continue to analyze this further, there are actually quite a few ways to analyze it. Because the other party has already admitted that our clearly aware mind is inside the faculty, if it is inside the area of the faculty building, then when you have a pair of glasses with glass in the middle, can you see the glass in the middle? In the same way, when the faculty of the eye is blocking it, I should be able to see the faculty of the eye itself. If the faculty of the eye cannot be seen, then either the faculty of the eye is an obstructing thing, which would also prevent seeing external objects, or the mind cannot see, and apart from itself, it cannot see anything outside. There are still many faults that remain. So generally speaking, if it exists within the faculty, this explanation is also unreasonable. Precisely because of this profound reason, it is also explicitly stated in the revered Bodhicariyavatara, a significant and influential text. I believe it's mentioned in the section on mindfulness of the mind. The mind does not reside in the faculties. The mind does not dwell within the faculties, and then it does not reside in form or in between, nor does it reside inside or outside, and it cannot be readily found elsewhere either. There is indeed such a significant scriptural reference, which everyone should remember. So, as for our mind, in fact, it cannot be found anywhere else either, nor can it be located within the precise confines of this particular context or environment, nor can it be found outside. It also cannot be found within material forms, nor within the faculties, nor is it present in between the faculties and forms. Therefore, when we discuss the analysis of the selflessness of phenomena, this mind of ours cannot be found anywhere. The principle being explained here is the same as this. Because as we mentioned earlier, this mind of ours cannot be found inside the body, nor can it be found outside the body. If it cannot be found inside or outside, then can it be found in between? The middle is also unavailable. This meaning cannot be obtained from the root either. Then the fourth symptom below. This is a bit difficult to understand. You should use all your wisdom. Otherwise, you might just get very car sick. I speak a little slower. Otherwise, I worry that you might. The very first time I heard the Shurangama Sutra, perhaps I don't understand. People who have heard or learned it before, there really shouldn't be any problem. However, for what's coming up next, it should be the fourth seeking. This is considered one of the more convoluted parts of the Shurangama Sutra. It's hard to wrap your head around it all at once. So you should bring out your sharpest and most incisive wisdom. Be very well prepared for this. I'll just drink some water and then I will continue with the next part. It's like when we have horse races sometimes. Some horses are quite good and perform well, while others unfortunately lag behind considerably. Maybe after I finish this. Some individuals haven't reacted at all. Some people have already attained a state of complete and profound spiritual enlightenment. Sometimes I feel better when things get a little harder. Because of arrogant people, I think it is very simple. Then, when you encounter these individuals, even these incredibly arrogant people themselves, often do not fully understand this profound truth. This realization is also an effective and beneficial medicine for them. So here we arrive at the fourth crucial question. Then Ananda continued to ask further. Ananda respectfully addressed the Buddha, the world-honored one. Now I am truly thinking like this again. I absolutely cannot just give up like this. I must fully understand. I must definitely figure it out completely. Even though you said it's not outside, not inside, and not in the middle either. But this mind, this time I have to ask clearly. I have to get to the bottom of it. Otherwise, if this goes on, it definitely won't work. What exactly is this mind? He said, now, as I reflect on it, it should be like this. If it's the physical body of sentient beings, specifically the bodies of all sentient beings, in fact, the internal organs are located deep inside, and the sensory orifices are positioned externally on the outside surface. He said, for us generally, no matter what kind of sentient being it is, actually, the structure of their bodies, everyone should be very clear about this. The human organs are inside. Inside the bodies of sentient beings, there are the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. The 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Everyone should know this as well, so I won't elaborate here. The heart, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, and the spleen, these are the solid organs. As for the 6 hollow organs, these include the gallbladder, the bladder, and the stomach, among others, as well as the triple burner, large intestine, and small intestine. These make up the 5 solid and 6 hollow organs. This is the internal structure of our body. Then, externally, we have the orifices, that is, 2 eyes. Then 2 nostrils, 2 ears, and the mouth, making a total of 7 orifices. These are what we often refer to as the 7 orifices. So, the 7 orifices are located on the outside. Then, as for the inside, it should refer to the internal organs of the human body. In this way, these organs are hidden and dark, making them less visible and somewhat concealed from view. As for the internal organs of the body we just mentioned, generally speaking, we ourselves cannot see them. So you could certainly say that they are something quite obscure, something hidden away in the dark, indeed. On the other hand, where there are orifices, there is light. The 7 orifices mentioned earlier can be said to be clearly visible on the outside. Therefore, they are appropriately called bright. Ananda first gave a simple and straightforward analysis of the inside and outside of the human body. He gave a simple yet insightful analysis. Then, with a clear and resonant voice, he said, now, here before the revered Buddha, I consciously open my eyes and perceive a brilliant, illuminating brightness. Today, right here, in front of the sacred Buddha, within this serene and hallowed Dharma hall, when I open my eyes, I am truly able to clearly see everything around me. This is the obvious seeing of the outside. This is truly commonly called seeing the external world. When I open my eyes, I can see the Buddha, I can see the assembly of monks, I can clearly see the forest and the gardens, I can perceive everything. So this is precisely called seeing the external. It means being able to truly see external things. This is one aspect of it. Then, when I close my eyes, I see darkness. Just now there was not only brightness, but also darkness. So when I gently close my eyes, I truly see this complete and profound darkness. So, what exactly is this called? Seeing the internal. This should be appropriately called seeing the internal. In this particular way, actually, the mind, because of truly seeing the internal, is what is mainly being refuted here. As for seeing the external, it is not being refuted here. In our fourth question, the main focus is on refuting seeing darkness or seeing the internal. This is what is being refuted. What does this mean? Buddha, this is my understanding, this is my view. What do you think? It should be really pretty good, isn't it? Now let me analyze it. Actually, Ananda is quite good at constantly thinking things through. If it were us, whatever the Buddha said, just like what was said earlier, we would just lasuo, and then maybe not say anything else. But Ananda, for the sake of all sentient beings, continuously keeps asking profound questions. We might also be very much like this, right? When we open our eyes, we can see all the external forms. Then when we completely close our eyes, if we go by the literal meaning, we actually don't see any internal phenomena either. But in reality, it seems like there's a kind of darkness. When we close our eyes, in fact, we could call this a kind of inner seeing, seeing within. I suppose you could put it that way. So the Buddha told him, first of all, what is being discussed here is quite similar to how, in the Prasangika Madhyamaka school, many absurd consequences are raised to refute a point. The refutation using these absurd consequences is basically the same. The Buddha then said to Ananda, when you close your eyes and perceive only darkness, is this profound dark state in direct opposition to your very eyes or not really? He said, when you consciously and deliberately close your eyes, do you not perceive a certain kind of profound darkness, an absolute absence of light that you distinctly see at that precise moment, that deep, unilluminated state you are perceiving? Is it truly in direct opposition to the very function of your eyes? Or is it not in opposition to your eyes? Here, the word opposition in the Tibetan language is, when they translated it into Tibetan, they rendered it as whether it is in contact with the eye faculty or not. That's how they translated it. But if you put it as contact or no contact, that's also acceptable. You could say that in terms of terminology. But in reality, what it means is, when you see this inner darkness, does this darkness really become the object of the eye or not? Maybe asking whether it really becomes the object of the eye is a bit easier to understand. Because according to the Hinayana school's explanation, the object and the sense faculty are actually not in complete contact. Of course, there is one school of thought, a certain view within the Abhidharmakosha, that holds that the faculty and the object do make contact. In one of the major commentaries on the Abhidharmakosha, I distinctly remember that some individuals firmly believe there is indeed direct contact. However, many other people widely think that even without any physical contact whatsoever, it can still be clearly and distinctly seen. Because the state of mind is the very first moment, and then one is the state, one is the intention, and one is the root. Rely on it to generate consciousness and all subsequent mental activities and experiences, according to the treasure of quantitative theory. In this case, so he asked a few questions here. Everyone should pay attention. Your profound wisdom should, let's truly bring out our incredibly sharp and insightful wisdom. So it means, don't do it at the very beginning. Generally, people tend to read historical accounts, engaging novels, and watch captivating movies. The keywords cannot be lost. The keywords are lost. I don't understand many of the plots later on. So he just started saying, when you close your eyes, there is a dark realm. This dark realm, does your eye root have the function of responding to the object, or maybe you don't have any yes or no? That's what he's saying here. If it matches the eye, if we say this darkness, it directly acts as an object for the eyes. It's always directly facing each other. In that case, if the darkness is in front of your eyes, how can it be considered internal? So in that case, this darkness has already become something in front of your eyes. How can something in front of your eyes be considered an internal perception? Because this darkness, actually, when it comes to darkness, according to the Abhidharmakosha, it is a kind of fine particle. Light is also a kind of fine particle. Darkness is also a kind of fine particle. If your eyes are facing it, then this profound darkness has already become something clearly visible right in front of your very eyes. How could it possibly be considered truly internal? Because it has become external outside of the faculty of the eye. If it were internal, it should be within your own body. If this darkness really became the object of your eyes, it would have already become something external. How could it possibly become something that is truly internal? This is indeed the very first important aspect to consider. If it is considered internal, even though it is clearly an external object, but you think this is your inner perception, if this is considered internal, then there is a major flaw. What kind of floor is that? When we are in a dark room, with no sunlight, no moonlight, and no lamplight, such a dark room. In fact, because there is nothing at all, if you consider darkness itself as an object, and you think it is your object of perception, then it would all have become your internal organs, your body. As mentioned earlier, the 5 principal viscera and 6 bowels, which are vital organs, the things inside us that cannot be seen. The things that cannot truly be seen, if you were to say this profound darkness, has already become the very object of your discerning eyes, and it becomes an internal object. Then this pitch black room, completely devoid of any light, would also become your internal organs, exactly the same, mirroring their intricate structure and function. In Tibetan, it is the same, quite similar, conveying a remarkably similar profound meaning. Because the room is very dark, there's actually absolutely nothing at all to be seen. Didn't see anything. But if you really think you indeed saw it, then if your eyes are already facing inward, in this dark room where nothing is seen, it also becomes your internal organs. Either what you clearly see or what you're able to perceive. It has truly become like this. Do you understand? This is the first step. If it's facing right, there is this. I told 2 stories like this. If not, if your eyes are facing this profound darkness, but there is absolutely no function of becoming an object, no direct interaction with it whatsoever, then how could it truly become seeing? How could it turn into a form of seeing? If it is seeing, it must be in front of you. Your object and your eyes must face each other. There should be this mutual facing effect. Otherwise, if you are looking at the eastern mountain, can the western mountain behind you, can it become an object for you to see? That's impossible. So if you say that, your eyes are not facing it, but you can see the darkness, then that's absolutely impossible. It can't be the case. If you are not facing it at all, how can you see it? If we want to see something, we must see the other party. If you haven't seen the other party, then what exactly is blocking in between? Or maybe you are not even there at all. Then there's absolutely no way for anyone to actually see it. So what exactly is this particular thing called? If the eye faculty is not directly facing it, then it cannot perceive it, or it hasn't become the object of perception, this second aspect. Analysis facing and not facing. Analyzes if the eye is facing or not. The following analytical method does not consider whether the eye faculty is facing or not facing. It doesn't analyze in this way. According to Venerable Ananda's analysis, didn't he talk about seeing inwardly? He believes there is a kind of inward seeing, and he takes this inward seeing and further analyzes it as the opposing viewpoint. This is the refutation method for the second aspect. The previous analysis of facing or not facing has already been refuted. Then it goes on to say, if one leaves behind external seeing, then internal facing is established. Here, of course, Zixuan's method of explanation, the punctuation can be used in this way, but when I look at the Tibetan version and many other aspects, it's very difficult to explain it this way, it's hard to get through. So in that case, this should be a comma. If one leaves behind external seeing, then internal facing is established. Closing the eyes and seeing darkness is called within the body. This is the opposing viewpoint. Then the Buddha says, Ananda, didn't you just recently indeed say that if what you call inward seeing is separated from outward seeing, and after separating completely from outward seeing, inward seeing is already firmly established? If it is indeed established, then closing the eyes and seeing only darkness. When you deliberately close your eyes and perceive nothing but darkness, you will find that. This is called the body's inward seeing. Didn't you say this? This should be considered as, if you were to put it in this particular way, then explaining it like this makes it a bit easier to understand. Otherwise, with many other commentaries, I've also checked many, but some masters, when they get to these more difficult parts, they just simply skip over them and don't really bother with them at all. We still really hope that this master might explain things in more detail, or that master might go into more detail. But when it comes to this point, everyone just tends to ignore it. Then we can explain it this way. If you look outside, the inside will be established. Then close your eyes and you will certainly see complete darkness. Or if you happen to see your inner body, if that is indeed the case, then why can't you see your face? Because if you see it from within, if there is no external vision, then there is an internal vision. In fact, the inner vision is, according to Ananda, inner vision means that you can see everything inside. Even darkness can be seen Even the inside of the body can be seen. If that's the case, this kind of view, when he opens his eyes, he should truly see brightness appear, which is also commonly called seeing brightness. When you open your eyes, you naturally see the outside world, you see brightness. So with this kind of seeing brightness, why can't you see your own face? Here, he truly starts to reason. First, he carefully deduces this particular point, which is quite significant. You should be able to clearly see your own face. You should be able to distinctly perceive your own face. Why is that the case? Because the profound mind of the one who truly sees can even discern the inherent darkness within the physical body. Then your own face, which is the closest to you, how could you not be able to see it? You should be able to see it. If you can even see the darkness inside, then why can't you see your very own face, which is the closest and most intimate to you? So next, he then raises several different and important questions here. If you can't see your face, then seeing within doesn't hold. If you say you simply can't see your own face, then in that case, seeing within cannot be established. Because if you can't even see your own face, then how could you see what's inside or see darkness? It's simply not tenable. So this situation is fundamentally untenable. If seeing the face were indeed possible, then the second crucial question is raised below. What exactly is being questioned? If you could truly see your own face, if it's indeed possible to see your own face, then this knowing mind, as well as the eyes, the eye faculty, ideally, they should all be placed within an empty space, completely isolated. How could they be considered internal? How would they become internal? The previous statement here should be, if one truly cannot perceive or see oneself, if, when you open your eyes and direct your attention inward, you are able to clearly discern and comprehend the intricate workings of your own mind, its thoughts, feelings, then why can't you see your own face? This is the first overextension. Then the second fault, if you could see your own face, then in order to see your own face, you would have to go to the opposite side. Just like when we visualize the Yidam deity. The mind and the eyes would have to move to the opposite side. Otherwise, how would you see your own face? If I look in a mirror, I don't need to go to the opposite side. But at that time, it wasn't being discussed in terms of a mirror. If you want to see your own face, then it's impossible for me to use my own consciousness to see myself. This is also not possible. You would have to go to the opposite side. This is a kind of reasoning, right? This is an overextension, a reductio ad absurdum. If you push the reductio ad absurdum far, then your consciousness, if it sees face, then you would have to turn this in order to your eye faculty and your mind going out into empty space. Otherwise, how could it possibly become an inner seeing? How could I truly and clearly see my own face? It is simply and utterly impossible. This is the second aspect, the body and mind being separated by reductio ad absurdum. Because the body is here, and then the mind and the eye faculty would have to go out into empty space. This particular kind of overextension is the second overextension. The third overextension is about this. If it is located in empty space, if your mind and eyes are like what we often talk about now, out-of-body experiences, the soul leaves the body and then goes up to the ceiling, or goes somewhere else and sees its own body. There are such claims, right? If it's like that, then if your consciousness and these are in empty space, then they are not your body. If your consciousness is in empty space, then your own physical body and the consciousness that resides in empty space are not truly one. They should be considered entirely separate entities. One is located in empty space and the other is situated here. In that particular case, it's as if the Tathagata, upon seeing your very face, should also become your physical body. The Tathagata should become your body. Here it explicitly says the Buddha's very own body should truly become your own. This, in fact, is the third excessive conclusion. Now, why exactly is that the case? The Tathagata's body would definitely become your body because you clearly see this face. Just like in your mind's eye, it's as if, for Zixuan, there is something profound and deeply significant inside. He subsequently established a comprehensive three-part logical reasoning framework. He said, the Tathagata's body must be your body. Why? Because he sees your entire face, every detail and expression, just like your own mind and eyes perceive and interpret everything around you. Your mind and eyes have already acknowledged that they see your own face. In that case, then the Tathagata should also become your very own physical body indeed. What is the reason? If the Buddha is in front of you, he sees your face and your whole body. He can clearly see it. If he can truly see you, in fact, your very own mind and your own eye consciousness. because your own mind and your own eye consciousness have already gone out into the air and then see yourself. This is exactly the same. This is the kind of overextension in reasoning that is being made. Just now, as mentioned earlier, your mind is not inside because it truly sees your face just like someone else, a different individual, would. As we have previously discussed earlier, if your mind and eyes have already gone into an empty, vacant space, then your mind is not truly inside. Why is that? Because it sees your face. If it sees your face, it definitely isn't inside your own body, just like with someone else, perhaps. In Zixuan's case, there are two valid three-part syllogisms used to make the argument. This is the second question, which means you would have to admit that the Buddha is just like your own body. This is the second important question. The third significant question states that our physical body and our sense faculties should both become completely insensible to each other. This refers to the body and the faculties, or more broadly, the body and the mind, would have no sensation of each other. This would result in the fault of having no sensation at all. What does this mean? Your eyes already know that when the body and the faculties come together, there is no awareness, because your eyes and your mind are in empty space, while your entire body is on the ground. So if your eyes can clearly see, your body may not necessarily have sensation, because these two, one is in empty space, while the other is firmly situated on the ground below. In that case, you must insist on saying, you should admit that the body and the eyes have two separate perceptions. The body is on the ground and the eyes are in empty space, or the mind is also in empty space. So the two are of truly different kinds indeed. If that's the case, then even though you have one body, in the very end, it should ultimately become two distinct Buddhas. Because one is you in empty space and one is you on the ground. But you on the ground should also be aware, then in the void, you who just had the eye consciousness should also be aware. In this particular case, although you are a continuous process, in the end, it should become two distinct and successive elements. In this way, when a person becomes a Buddha, they have become two Buddhas. One is called Sakyamuni Buddha. What is another Buddha called? It becomes two successive ones. This is a mistake. Therefore, you should know that you see darkness. There is no place for seeing within. You just said that seeing darkness is seeing within. This is actually nonsense. He mainly talks about the profound inner nature of this mind, which truly does not exist, just like what is explicitly stated in the revered Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. It is indeed so. If you do not recognize your true mind, studying Dharma, no benefit. If we do not recognize true face, our mind, if we do not understand it. It is indeed very difficult to truly gain real and lasting benefit from diligently studying the profound Dharma. Therefore, the fundamental true nature of the mind, if you have not yet fully realized it, no matter what you do, it will be very difficult. I saw in a book, not only when we observe our own minds do we need to recognize its true nature, but even more importantly, in our daily lives, in our everyday existence, and in our routines. If we do not truly understand the intricate workings of our own minds, it inevitably brings forth a multitude of significant difficulties, profound challenges, or even considerable suffering into our lives. Conversely, those individuals who possess a clear and comprehensive understanding of their own minds should be able, wherever and whenever, to experience a profound sense of ease, a feeling of true freedom, or even a deep and lasting happiness. However, if you do not truly understand your own mind, something that originally was nothing at all and held no inherent significance, may ultimately end up causing you a significant amount of difficulties and a great deal of suffering. Therefore, we really and truly hope that everyone in the process of practice will often study and practice methods related to their own minds, methods that specifically concern the human mind itself. This is also extremely important and crucial. Sometimes we may place particular emphasis on external studies, such as learning poetry, drama, and other forms of literary expression. Or, for example, our current and primary focus is on comprehensive design, overall architecture, and so on. All kinds of worldly knowledge. In fact, these are also very important for our survival. We cannot deny that all this knowledge is important. But even more important are certain intricate inner methods and profound processes related to our fundamental consciousness, which is precisely what we commonly refer to as karma. We very often and quite simply say karma. This kind of karma, through it, can create many different new things. And sometimes truly it is indeed. Things weren't like this. But our own minds often create all sorts of intricate knots. In the end, as we often say, fools often bind themselves very tightly. In the past, in the Book of Jin, there once was a man named Le Guang, a long time ago. He cordially invited one of his closest friends to join him and drank wine with him. While they were drinking together, that particular friend, when they were halfway through their meal, at that very moment, he started to feel uncomfortable inside. Then he stopped drinking and went home. After he got home, he fell ill, and his illness was very serious. Later, Yue Guang, after learning that he was gravely ill, went to personally visit him. When he eventually visited, he thoughtfully asked him why he had become so sick. He then said, "That fateful day when I was truly drinking with you, there was a very tiny snake in my wine cup. That snake, I must have swallowed it while drinking. After I drank it, I immediately got sick. I've seen many doctors, but none of their treatments have worked at all. So now my illness is getting worse and worse." At that particular time, Yue Guang was actually very wise. He thoughtfully said, "Perhaps it's not quite that serious. We should simply go back and have another enjoyable drink." Of course, he didn't dare, because he got sick from drinking that day. But since they were close and trusted friends, in the end, he reluctantly agreed to come and join them. When he finally arrived, they promptly had him sit in precisely the same familiar spot as he had occupied before, still remaining in the original seat, and then they subsequently asked him to drink. When they asked him to drink, at that moment, inside the wine cup, there still appeared a small, slithering little snake. He then asked, "Is there still a tiny, wriggling little snake present in your cup right now, at this very moment?" He said, "Yes, there is a small, indeed, a little snake." He replied, "Yes, there certainly is." At this particular moment, he was exceptionally clever. He immediately took down a sturdy bow that was hanging on the wall. He took it down, because that bow, when reflected, looked just like a snake, and it appeared in his wine cup. As a result, that person believed he had already drunk the snake, but in fact he hadn't. It was just a shadow. Later he became ill. After he carefully took down the ancient bow, it became apparent that there was absolutely nothing at all in his wine glass. Then he thoroughly explained this principle, made it exceptionally clear and understandable. Immediately after that, he completely recovered. So sometimes we humans, our own discriminating thoughts really do, especially for us ordinary people, truly we might think, this person is so foolish. How could there be such an image in the wine? How could an image truly like that bring about such an effect for us? It's impossible. But in actual fact, we might indeed experience precisely the same kind of phenomenon or situation. The story of seeing a bow's shadow as a snake in the cup has been passed down all the way to today. We might think, how could this person be so foolish? That's impossible. But actually, in our real lives, maybe each of us, in our own impressions, in our own feelings, in our own discriminating thoughts, have created a snake, have created a little snake. We can even see it with our eyes, and our minds can also clearly distinguish it. In this way, in the end, we might actually become physically and truly ill, perhaps even suffering from various ailments. Once, a long time ago in Merkang, I was getting checked in a hospital, and the doctor said, "Your lungs are in a particularly serious condition. You might potentially need surgery or perhaps some other medical treatment." At that very moment, I immediately felt a sharp pain. Right here, it truly hurt a lot. I thought to myself, I'm definitely beyond any saving. This is really, truly serious. After some time, I went to Chengdu for another checkup, and then the doctor said there was nothing wrong at all. My lungs were perfectly fine, and it seemed like the pain just entirely disappeared indeed. This is also a kind of image of a fool, I suppose. I think many of us might have similar experiences. This is just a kind of manifestation. That's why it's especially important for us to understand our own minds. But I think the methods of observing the mind in Vajrayana Buddhism are a bit more direct. They're even simpler than those in the Shurangama Sutra. The reasoning in the Shurangama Sutra is even harder than Buddhist logic, at least that's how I feel. Maybe it won't be a problem for you all. Let's listen to your insightful presentations in just a little while. All right, that's all for today.
Bandara Gara Banma Sodargye